First, I'd like to welcome the administration and deputations and individuals to the meeting today. This is a special meeting to listen to deputations, how they look at the provision of free kindergarten education. You can wear the earphones and you can tune into the channel you prefer. Channel 0 is the floor, channel 1 is Cantonese, channel 2 is English. There are altogether 77 deputations and individuals attending the meeting today, and we will conduct the meeting in 2 sessions. The clerk has already circulated submissions received to the administration and members. Deputations and individuals, please pay attention to this point. The submissions you gave to the panel and your oral submission at the meeting today will not be covered and protected by the Legislative Council Powers and Privileges Ordinance. The Secretary for Education is otherwise engaged this morning, and he can only come to the meeting at 10 a.m. I will first of all ask the Permanent Secretary to take us through the topic briefly, and then I will ask deputations and individuals to take their turns to speak. Each deputation or individual will have 3 minutes, and you will be stopped when the bell rings. Please be concise and precise when you speak. If you have any supplementary information, we welcome that in writing. P.S., please. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, Deputy Chairman, and members. As the Chairman said, we are here today to listen to your views, and so I will conclude what I say in 1 minute. It is the government's very important policy to look into the provision of free kindergarten education. We understand that different stakeholders have quite varied and diversified views and aspirations with regard to the provision of free kindergarten education. In fact, we have met you at different forums. Even so, we are still very grateful for the panel on education of the Legislative Council for organizing the hearing today on the 26th so that we can again get clear about your views. And I also like to thank you for finding the time to attend. The Secretary for Education is otherwise engaged this morning, and so he will come at 10 a.m. When he comes, I will withdraw, and my DS will take my place because actually I have a meeting at 9 a.m. We will be listening to the recording of this meeting. Yes, we understand that you have a tight schedule today, so let us get started. Mr. Cheng Kai-yin, good morning. Is it that I can start to speak? I represent the Hong Kong Baptist Kindergarten Education Convention, and I speak on behalf of our convention. The CE said in his manifesto that he would implement 15-year free education, but then in his policy address, he only said that a committee would be set up to research into the topic, and the FS in his budget said that $480 million will be put aside to finance the talented students for pursuing overseas studies. We are very disappointed because you are plowing money into helping people who might not eventually embark on a career in kindergarten education. Actually, as of now, 8% have already got a higher diploma, and 40% of them already fork out from their own purse to pursue higher studies. So why don't you put aside the money for our teachers who are already digging into their pockets for pursuing further studies, but rather you put aside money for so-called talented and gifted students for pursuing the career who might not, actually these people might not eventually embark on this as a career. You, of course, implemented the pre-primary education voucher scheme, which is actually a subsidy to parents. In 2012, the CE said in his manifesto that there would be 15-year free education, and it gave us some hope. However, when C.Y. Leung became the CE, he only said that this would be looked into, and we are very disappointed. So we agree with the 8 points in the alliance, and that is that you should do away with the PEVS, the pre-primary education voucher scheme. You should face squarely the needs of kindergarten education and provide subsidy. You should lower the student-teacher ratio. you should also improve the establishment for the manpower, and also there must be a professional development ladder and a salary structure. And you should also set up a quality assurance mechanism. And at the same time, we would like you to provide subsidy for in-service teachers who pursue higher studies. We believe kindergarten teachers are working extremely hard in educating children. They do not come into the career for the unfair salary structure. They do not want to have a happy and easy life. Rather, they are very devoted to educating our children. So we'd like you to really implement the 15-year education as soon as possible. Hong Kong Sheng Welfare Council, Ms. Lau Yao Lin. We believe it is the right of children to be educated properly. And in Hong Kong, the school entrance rate is over 90%. So education is provided to each and every child of the right age. And the government has said that there is a problem of the high school fee. But then I think there are different problems apart from that, and that is the ratio of teacher and children, and also you should localize kindergarten education so that you can ensure that there would be continuous and quality education provided to children. And also you should try to avoid intergenerational poverty by supporting comprehensive pre-primary whole-day education. We agree with the review report on PEVS that in providing pre-primary education, we should also support the families, but then there are many different constraints and difficulties. We should really look into all these problems to see how we can support the development of children by providing comprehensive pre-primary education. We have always had this need in Hong Kong, and the administration should not overlook the actual need. You should look at the secondary and primary education mechanism, and you should provide parity subsidy to whole-day or half-day kindergarten education. And it should be a choice for parents. You should not subject to whole-day school children to very time-consuming and cumbersome vetting procedures if they apply for fee remission. We would reiterate, therefore, that we would support the implementation of voluntary whole-day, comprehensive, subsidized whole-day or half-day pre-primary education. And you should put aside the resources as soon as possible, because this is to ensure healthy psychological and physical development of our children. Next one, Ms. Chair Yok Sim. Thank you. I represent the Professional Association of Master of Education in Early Childhood Education of Hong Kong, IAD. I have to clarify or rectify something. The PEVS has not functioned satisfactorily. If it had functioned satisfactorily, there would not have been so many protests and marches staged by people, including parents. The PEVS had two objectives. One, to help parents, but you have not achieved the objective. And two, to enhance the quality of kindergarten education. But we don't know how the administration looks at this. But what we want to say is teachers have already got a diploma, and principals or headmasters have already got a doctorate degree. And every year we have to update our knowledge and skills, just like primary and secondary schools. They have immersion courses so that they have exchange with their colleagues. Or else, after the PEVS is over, our painful experience will come back to us, and that is we have to pay out of our own pockets for continuous studies. When we get to a degree level, we still do not get the recognition, and our morale is dampened, and it might affect people's commitment to KG education as a career. This will affect the quality of teaching as well as learning. So you have not achieved your objective of enhancing education quality. KG teachers are very hardworking. They do not want to stay where they are, and they are pursuing continuous education. Many of them have got masters degrees. They are engaging in self-enhancement. So we believe there must be comprehensive subsidy to KG education, and there must be a qualification framework for KG teachers. You then can achieve your dual objective of helping parents and improving quality of teaching. And I'm not only talking about school fees. What is important is long-term planning, including population and school place allocation. There must be a diversified approach to deliver services. You should also be timely in updating your curriculum. You should also look at advanced pedagogical research, especially what you mean by localizing KG education. The Education Bureau went to Finland and other places where education is of prime value. So you must understand that children need the best quality care. You therefore must train up the best people in the industry so that we can achieve this objective. Therefore, we should set up a salary structure for teachers with diplomas and for their continuous studies. Next one, Ms. Helen Lam. I represent the Hong Kong Early Childhood Education Administrative Professional Association. First of all, I'd like to thank you for finding the time to listen to us. You will understand that starting from 2007, when we have had the PEVS, a lot of administrative work has been generated for teachers and for admin staff. Many teachers and admin staff have left the profession because of the pressure brought about by PEVS. And some teachers have reached their retirement age, and now we have a gap in finding teachers, and those who are still in the profession are under pressure. Our association would like you to enhance the manpower establishment so we can lessen the pressure and create a healthy working environment. Many reports have told us that 30% of our teachers have already got a degree, and in our admin staff, including headmasters, vice headmasters, and head teachers, many of them, actually the majority of them, have a university degree, and many headmasters have already got a master's in education. In the process, we know that teachers are hardworking, and also they engage in a lot of self-enhancement. In terms of academic enhancement, we hope that we can research into localizing such enhancement. However, we cannot do this because we are faced with a lot of work pressure. This is quite time-consuming. And if that's the case, how can we train up people who can lead the profession? How can we continuously help to enhance the quality of teaching? I hope we can have a bigger contingent of manpower so we can enhance the curriculum, and then we ourselves, we teachers, can really concentrate on teaching children and in their comprehensive development. Yin Cam, I represent the Salvation Army. We are a non-profit-making education organization. We believe this is a good time to implement free KG education. However, it will mean a big change if the sector will change from a private sector into a public sector. It takes time, but then at the same time, you should also preserve flexibility and diversity. Our views are:
we should review the voucher system, and we should also monitor education development, long-term development. And as the Education Bureau said, there are diverse views in the industry. We should have a common starting point, and we should have a focus on policy development. The review report has looked at the current problems, and the report can serve as a platform for discussion. The kindergarten committee was established, and we feel that there should be a priority, and the committee's work should be flexible, and we should not wait for 2 years before we make any further development. We have new policies we should have new policies to accelerate development of kindergarten policy. We should streamline the framework and avoid duplication of efforts, and we should also review the current objectives And we should also have an appeal mechanism such that the schools can have fair assessment. Regarding development, free education is to allow the population to be more competitive. So quality teaching staff is a key component. So recurrent funding for teacher training exchanges can enhance teaching quality. And we should also have promotional prospects to attract more people to the field. We should also bring down the student-teacher ratio, and that should help deal with staff turnover. The government needs to identify school sites for aging schools, relocation, and our vision is to help parents, and children should have sufficient resources. The financial secretary mentioned that investment in the next generation can stabilize a society, can also help us in our aging society. Mr. Chanmeda, I am the representative of Hong Kong Baptist Kindergarten Education Convention. We have 35 kindergartens, and we urge the government to implement 15 years free education as soon as possible. The government should scrap the voucher system, and we hope that the government can come up with a timetable. They should have a roadmap for 15-year free education in the coming 2 years. During the transition period, there should be remedial measures. There should be more support for full-day education, and we should relieve parents' burden. There should be a reasonable salary scale for teaching staff to avoid staff turnover. There should not be any more excuses to stall the 15-year free education. Lastly, I hope that the government can hear our views and attain 15 years free education. Ms. Susan Sosoin. First of all, we support the 8 proposals. The government should have clear policies and objectives such that children from different backgrounds can enjoy quality education. There should be a flexible and reasonable monitoring system. We shouldn't have rigid assessment. We should also build a professional team. We should provide reasonable salaries and reasonable working environment and reasonable promotional prospects. Full-day kindergartens have been neglected in the past. Under the voucher system, we are trying to relieve parent burden and enhance teaching quality, but in the last 7 years, that has been very disappointing. In 2012-13, half-day kindergarten parents only pay 17% of fees, but full-day kindergarten students, they have to pay some 40% of tuition fees, so there is no relief for parents. Government planning has played an important part in students with learning needs. This is planned. So planning and assessment should be to help parents, and we also should take care of children with special learning needs. So the policy requires these schools to operate longer hours. They have to be open 10 hours. On weekends, during typhoons, and during epidemics, they are required to be open. So their operation costs are much higher. But under the voucher system, compared to half-day schools, full-day schools, their operational resources can differ by as much as 1.8 million. This unfair situation does not relieve parent burden. It also leads to very tight resources. We cannot retain teachers or provide better conditions and maintain a stable teaching team. So this is in contrast to the stated aim of providing quality education. So we should have transition arrangements, interim measures. There should be a one-off funding to recruit more teachers. The Education Bureau has set up a task force, but all along the school's operation needs, parent-teacher needs have been neglected. So these are our views. Thank you. Ms. Josephine Ho Yin Peng. I am the principal of Yawate Yang Memorial Methodist Preschool. I support the Alliance 8 proposals. Education equality is not just about equality in education opportunities. It's also about the process, teaching, learning, equality. And we'll also have to look at learning outcomes. The voucher system has not dealt with the equity issue. In order to have education equality, first of all, the government needs to support kindergarten teaching. It should be part of the education policy. Parents should not be deprived, children should not be deprived of a quality education because of financial status. We should also have promotional prospects for teachers because teaching quality affects kindergarten learning outcomes. So we have to have quality teachers. In order to have quality teachers, we need to review teacher remuneration. We should also have professional standards and guidelines, and we should have a professional kindergarten teacher association. A third point on quality. In the past, it didn't help schools improve. So I suggest quality assurance and a professional assessment to assist teaching quality. We should have different stakeholders form an assessment team to balance the different needs. When the assessment team identifies a problem, they should coordinate their efforts. It's like when you teach kids, when you identify a problem, you help them improve. You shouldn't just label them as poor students. So the government should set up a task force to visit schools, to observe classroom teaching, to provide adequate support. And if they do a good job, they should conduct sharing sessions. There should also be a school-based assistance. There should be teacher assistants and school-based social workers to help students with learning difficulties. Miss Emily Chan. Well, I should be teaching in class right now, but I told my students that I was going to take a day off to do something meaningful. So I have to thank a retired colleague to take my place. First of all, I've taught kindergarten for 23 years, and I will graduate from evening school. I would like to have a reasonable pay. Then I would be happy in my teaching and my work. Starting from '98, I have taken part in kindergarten affairs. I have read all the CE's manifestos. Mr. Leung and Mr. Tang had mentioned 15 years of free education. But I do have some concerns. The Education Bureau officials should assist the CE to implement 15-year free education. So I hope this can be achieved before I retire. Ms. Zheng Yuai from Allway Kindergarten. Our kindergarten, it implemented the voucher scheme in 2007. We changed from private independent to non-profit making. So a small group of people undertook this large change. And we don't have a lot of people speaking on behalf of us. We were very grateful to the government for deploying resources in our difficult times. The new funds were injected, but could they adjust teacher remuneration? Not necessarily. 70% of the funds were to support teacher training or school-based training to enhance teaching quality. We agree with that. There were subsidies to families. It reduced the family burden. We agree that teaching quality had improved. We now have We now have teachers with master's qualifications, but there was also a large increase in salaries and rent. We would like to give teachers a reasonable salary. We've seen adjustments of 10%, 20%, but rent has increased by 2 or 3 times. So we would like to have 15-year free education for non-profit making schools to have a more equitable treatment. Dr. Gail Yun, I speak on behalf of the Alliance. We have 29 teaching institutions, parent-teacher associations, and different school sponsor bodies. So we are very representative. In the last year of discussions, the 29 bodies have 8 areas of consensus. I will not repeat these. In our 8 major consensus, we had submitted a signature petition to the Education Bureau. We would like the government to implement 15-year free education and also recognize teacher professional qualifications. We also have 4,000 signatures, including trainers, university professors. These all indicate that we are concerned about this issue. In our red t-shirt action, we want to highlight our cause in the policy address and budget. We were very disappointed. I think you've heard many opinions on we have encountered many difficulties in our operations, so we'd like the administration to hear our difficulties. We want to do a better job. So 15 years of free education. We want to break the monopoly of private independent operations. This is a school sponsoring body choice, but we would like to break the hold on private independent kindergarten education provision. So when we talk about diversity, it's not just limited to the curriculum. We want different, we want diverse service provisions. And the government needs to invest in order to improve quality. So the government task force should be representative, and the education panel should set up a group to follow up 15-year free education. Mr. Manhon, I'm a representative of trustees of Kowloon Tong Church of Chinese Christian and Missionary Alliance. Our school sponsoring bodies also operate kindergartens. Our SSB supports 15-year free education, and it should be implemented as soon as possible. Thank you. Ms. Wang Xiuguan, good morning. Our action is not a one-off action. We want 15-year free education. I think the Hong Kong government in 1978 had implemented 9 years free education. In 2008, they implemented 12-year free education. From 9 years to 12 years took 30 years to accomplish. Does that mean from 12 years to 15 years will also require 30 years? I don't think I can wait that long. In Legislative Document number 2, paragraph 3, it says that kindergarten education is not basic education. In the year 2000 Blue Book, it says that kindergarten education is an important part of lifelong learning. A lot of theories or medical reports, brain studies indicate that children from between 2 to 6 years old, this is an important phase of their learning. In documents 1 and 2, paragraph 3, it says that Hong Kong kindergartens are private independent. I think we need to change this scenario. We really need to change. In the last 30 years, we had private secondary primary schools. We now have DSE, government-funded private schools. So our government can learn from past experience, and we can implement a diverse funded, we can now provide different funded options. We shouldn't have all private or all non-profit making. I think this singular approach will not garner support of stakeholders. Lastly, I agree with the Alliance proposals. We strongly urge the government to review the primary school situation and allow for subsidies. Chairman, funding for kindergarten.
無論從教育機會均等、優質幼兒教育提供、長遠發展同埋管治與問責4個方向嚟到考慮呢，政府都應該全面資助幼兒教育。全面資助幼兒教育呢，營運呢係可以奠定到幼兒教育穩定同埋持續發展嘅基礎。只是呢一個全面資助呢，只係喺單一嘅
We should add in a public service element to the education system. That is one option. As for a good KG system, we mean that a good teacher system to provide a good working environment, good remuneration package, and continuing development opportunities for teachers. With a stable teaching workforce, will be able to provide quality education. The government should also establish a standing and transparent mechanism to provide statistics on children's growth in Hong Kong so that people concerned with early childhood education can deepen their discussions on the subject, so that we would not waste resources to introduce reforms again and again. So on a long-term perspective, subsidy to ECE, according to United Nations indicators, there have been suggestions that expenditure on ECE should take up at least 1% of the GDP. Now, the percentage in Hong Kong is only 0.something%. Now, we have full day and whole day kindergartens, but the resources allocated to them are not fair, and those in need are not given a sufficient support. This we all know, and the Secretary for Education has heard views on that point many times. We all admit to this problem and flaw, but it has not been addressed, and it should be tackled immediately. Moreover, we also support the proposal that the government should drop a new pay scale for teachers and establish a professional development ladder for KG teachers, and also to hire administrative and supportive staff in kindergartens. Say in primary schools, secondary schools, and universities, they have a staff complement of supportive staff, but we don't have those in kindergartens. So as what one teacher said, that she had to hire somebody to replace her before she came to this meeting. The next one, Ms. Liu Fonghang. I'm from Hong Kong Kindergarten Association. Our association supports the 8 common concerns expressed by the Alliance to fight for the 15-year free education. I'm not going to repeat my points in my submission. I would highlight 2 points. I would like to talk about salaries and rent. Salary for teachers. We hope that the administration can come up with a clear pay scale, and then we establish a qualification accreditation system for teachers so that they can get a reasonable remuneration. Teachers, if they can get a reasonable remuneration, they will be able to establish their professional status, and then we will be able to retain staff and get a stable workforce. Now, we are talking about allocating $480 million to subsidize outstanding dues students to study overseas. I don't think that's an effective way of nurturing talents. I think that amount should be devoted to enhancing teachers' training and education. I think that's the best way to solve the problem of talent wastage. Now, on rent. Now, under the voucher scheme, a number of private and independent KGs have turned to be non-profit making kindergartens under that policy. All these kindergartens don't have reimbursement in rent. Now, in face of rising operating costs, these KGs are finding it hard to operate. And I hope that the administration can face up to the issue and don't add burden to our operation. And ultimately, we may have to close down because of all these problems. Now, finally, I hope that the administration can address kindergarten's difficulties in training teachers and rising rents and retaining difficulties in retaining staff. The next one. Ms. Dr. Veronica Young. I represent OMEP Hong Kong. We are part of an international network, and we comprise academics and serving teachers. I am a representative of the Hong Kong chapter. The CE said in his election manifesto that he would implement 15-year free education. Now he's saying that he's going to only study the feasibility of 15 free-year education. We're very disappointed. I hope that he would deliver his commitment. As what Mr. Xi Jinping said, implementation of policies is most important. In paragraph 3 of the electoral paper, it says that the kindergarten education is not part of basic education. I am very sort of compliment the Education Bureau for changing the name of preschool education to pre-primary education. In the 2000 education blueprint, it says clearly that pre-primary education lays a good foundation for lifelong learning. Education is a continuing process, and each part is linked to another part. And from scientific research on the brain, all surveys indicate that training or education from 0 to 6 is most important. So it's right that is foundational education. The government uses a voucher scheme to preserve the market responsiveness of the sector. But as a KG teacher, I don't accept the fact that education is considered a commodity. The operators in the market aim at making profit. As like the advertisers of baby milk formula, their aim is to make money and not they don't pay attention to the nutrition of infants. In paragraph 6 of the paper, in the third point, it says that the voucher system is a quality assurance mechanism which ensures that only those meeting the prescribed standards can join the scheme. Now, the scheme has been implemented for 5 years, and all these KGs have undergone external school review and have also built this self-assessment culture. So I think all the kindergartens have achieved the required standards, and we should also pay attention to activities, and we should reduce or cut the student-teacher ratio. And I also hope that to establish a professional accreditation mechanism to enhance the satisfaction of teachers. And we shouldn't just don't rely on sending a few students overseas to undertake education and expect them to come back and reform the system. Next, Ms. Yong Hao Hung. I'm from the PTU. For an issue which has reached a consensus in the community and which the CES promised to undertake, the EDB said that only a feasibility study will be conducted. We think this is grossly unacceptable. In this open hearing, over 170 deputations will speak. And also in the ECE sector, over 70,000 teachers and parents and 8,000 teachers have signed up. And it goes to show that the issue has raised a strong dissatisfaction among the community. We urge the establishment of a pay scale for teachers to attract and retain KG teachers. We are very disappointed that in the policy address or the budget, the government is silent on this point. And also, before the Committee on KG Education starts its work, the Secretary for Education has already stated that it doesn't help much to come up with a master pay scale and to come up with a minimum wage standard for KG teachers. The KG teachers have sort of upgraded themselves in the past year, and 30% of the KG teachers are degree holders. In nurturing KG teachers, the Secretary for Education doesn't have a long-term plan, and he only set a minimum wage for the teachers, and that is a great insult to teachers. And he thinks that with such a minimum wage, he will be able to attract good talents, and it goes to show that the EDB is very confused and is very there are conflicts in the government's policies. I think the administration should draw up a master pay scale for teachers, and they should come up with immediate relief measures to disperse subsidy to KG teachers so that they can get reasonable pay to prevent staff wastage and put training resources to a waste. Next, Ms. Leung Wei Yan. I've worked in the field for over 10 years. I want to share here with everyone that under the voucher scheme, we have undergone professional training. When we joined the sector in the beginning, we didn't have a pay scale, and we just served the students with our heart, and we wanted to provide quality education to the students. When we attended classes, we left work at around 5, and then we finished evening school at around 9 p.m. We never felt tired or exhausted, but what was exhausting was that because there was no other support provided to us. Say, for example, we wanted to get some statistics for our research paper. We found that there was no such research statistics to back up ECE education. I hope that the administration can treasure or cherish us. We are very sincere in our teaching, and we are passionate about our work. Some 3,471 KD teachers are degree holders, and some 6,411 teachers are certificate holders. So you can see that we are working very hard to trying to serve our children. We hope that you can appreciate our enthusiasm to enhance our skills. We hope that you can establish a professional development platform for us and launch local education research so that KG teachers can have better development in our profession. So these are my demands. Thank you very much. Next one, Ms. Hong Yin Mei. Chairman, members, peers, good morning. I am Hong Yin Mei. I am a serving KG teacher. I agree with the 8 common concerns expressed by the Alliance to Fight for the 15-year free education. The concerns expressed are very clear. I've looked through the #1 paper in paragraph 5. The objective of the voucher scheme is to preserve the market responsiveness of the sector and to enhance quality at the same time. I don't agree with that at all, because as far as operation is concerned, we can't accept that fact that early childhood education is considered a commodity in the market. The aim of the market is profit-making, but education is not. Education is aimed at nurturing or cultivating our next generation. Constrained by many objective factors, kindergartens cannot take in or enroll sufficient children. because our operating costs are linked to the salary of teachers. Secondly, education should have some sort of moral standards, and we should give education to individual children based on their needs. We should not be competing against each other using gimmicks and, say, providing free coaches or providing free textbooks and so on. We should not resort to those tactics to attract parents and children. We should not marketize the early childhood education, because that is going to affect the quality of education. Also, irrespective of whether we are in the private or public sector, the staff are the key to an organization. If the KG education is going to be run like an operation in the market, then the teachers' quality can't be guaranteed, and we will not be able to attract quality teachers, and we won't be able to enhance the quality of our education. On paragraph 9 on page 3, the government says that there are many problems with school premises, but from a historical perspective, we see that the government's policies are lacking a long-term perspective. Schools used to be built on rooftops, and now we have come to a sort of a new style campuses. I think the administration should learn lessons from the building of new style primary schools. Next one is Ms. Lau Yin King. The Pacific Early Childhood Education Research Association agrees with the 8 common concerns raised by the Alliance. We lack resources for the teachers to undertake research, education research. The government should give full subsidy so that we can enhance the quality of our education. The administration says time and again that there are several problems in ECE, but then the government hasn't provided any statistics. Say, how many KG teachers are earning a salary of $50,000? Is it 1, 10, or 1,000? The difference can be very big. What about school premises with a rent, paying a rent of over $400,000? That can make a difference too. Apart from statistics, the government should also establish a children's growth database and also localize our education research so that we can fully understand the situation of children's growth in Hong Kong, so as to draw up the relevant policies. The government has always been saying that a full day or half day KGs are sufficient. Do you have statistics to back that up? Now, for young mothers, now some 1% of them, instead of 63%, are now working. How are you going to support them? Now, there have been family tragedies in recent days. These tragedies go to show that the government should provide more support for families. In the paper, it says that the staff turnover rate in KG gardens, in kindergartens, is 6% in 2011 and 2012. I have done a survey in 224 kindergartens in Hong Kong, and there is a respondent rate of 79%, and the staff turnover rate is 14%. For some schools, is as high as 40%. So that is a big difference from the government statistics.
The reason is that you only count people who leave the profession. If the teachers become an assistant teacher, you don't count them in. However, such wastage rate is already affecting the learning of children, so you should not bury your head in the sand and lightly dismiss this problem. Early education, early childhood education is a part of basic education. We hope that the Bureau will set up a special committee to monitor the implementation of free education. Thank you. Dr. Doris Cheng, good morning. Chairman, members, good morning. First, I'd like to thank you for finding the time to conduct this public hearing so that we can work for the welfare of our next generation and also contribute to education as a whole. I'm Doris Sheng. I represent the Center for Childhood Research and Innovation. Here, I'd like to bring out just one point, and that is the subsidy mode and also the quality of education. I like to say that depending on a market mechanism, that is what the PEVS is premised, I don't think that is the way to enhance quality. On the contrary, you have created deep-seated conflicts and created difficulties. I believe you remember in 2000 there was the education reform and we were talking about ideals. It was said that we should be able to nurture children who are keen to learn, who are skilled in communication, who are brave in committing themselves, and also who are intended to achieve long-term education. However, by marketization, educational institutes are fighting for students and they want to show parents how their children perform in public assessments. And therefore we are blind to the wholesome development of children. They do not have enough time to play. They do not have quality life. For example, in our center, we conducted some research recently. We were looking at the creativity and communication skills of children. And the target of our research was a kindergarten, which was very popular with teachers. But then there is another one, which has an open kind of curriculum. And we found that with the former, children performed worse than the other one in those two aspects. But then the parents like it, and the kindergarten had no admission problems. So there was no impetus for the KG concerned to enhance the education quality. PEVS means that money will follow the student. It looks like it's very flexible and diversified. However, it is not helping with the development of children and the enhancement of education. And also, this deepens the conflicts in KG education. 1. Parents and teachers have quite diversified views as to how KG education should be done. And 2, a conflict between operators and teachers. Now, I shouldn't go on with the list. I'd like to point out that early research has pointed out that early experience has a lot to do with the development of the brain. And overseas countries have done research, and we can see that our children do not have good comprehension ability. Let us follow the Obama's government. Let us know that people are the greatest resource in society, so we provide the right environment for our children to grow up in. Thank you, Mr. Ip Chi Yun. Yes. I'm the chairman of the Parents Alliance for concerning ourselves with the PEVS. The CE wrote an election manifesto. We could see that he was really keen in doing a lot. But then since he took office in July, he said nothing about implementing 15-year education. And also in his policy address, again, there is no mention of such free education. And we are quite hurt. And now what he is giving money for is school refurbishment. Mr. C.Y. Leung, I won't call you the CE. Mr. Eddie Ng, I won't call you the Secretary for Education. I don't see you accepting our co-signed petition. Now, you said you had 20-odd meetings with the industry, but then you just do not respect the views of the KG sector and parents, so we do not need to respect you. C.Y. Leung, you said that you would place emphasis on whole-day KG education, but then you are only giving money to schools to be refurbished. It's just like refurbishing your home. Every month, we only have an extra subsidy of $59.20 as a parent. I can tell you that the entire KG industry and parents are extremely angered. That kind of money is not enough to buy us lunch. And now we have decided to go without lunch for one day to show our anger, and we'll add 80 cents to this kind of money, so we give $60 to charity. When you have lunch today, Mr. Eddie Ng, think of us who are going without lunch to show our anger. You are going to set up a committee, but of course we can only accept it with reluctance. However, you must know the aspirations of whole-day KG education parents. You must do this in these 2 years, and that is to add 200% to the voucher scheme so as to relieve parents' pressure. But this is only about money and not what the Education Bureau has been talking about, and that is the allocation of places, school rental, and other problems. You must understand that you sit on a very fat reserve. If you are willing to pay $480 million to subsidize 20 gifted students to further their studies, it should not be a problem for you to triple the voucher scheme. You are already enhancing it to $710. It goes to show that the voucher scheme is functioning well. If you say it is not possible to triple it, but then you can add $710 to it, then you are going against your views. And it goes to show that the voucher scheme has failed. I hope you will quickly subsidize parents whose children are in whole-day KG kindergarten. You must set up the committee for 15-year free education ASAP, and we will happily attend your meetings. I hope we will have a roadmap and also a timetable for implementing 15-year education. Thank you, Wang Lai Yin. Thank you. We represent the 5 Districts Business Welfare Association, Changchukshan Nursery, Changchukshan Kindergarten Parents Teacher Association. Teachers and parents are in support of the Alliance for 15-year free education. We also subscribe to their 8 aspirations, one of which is to take a square look at the need for whole-day KG education and also to provide the subsidy. In 2007, we started the PEVS, and the objective of which is to relieve the financial pressure of parents and to enhance the quality of teaching for children. However, you are going nowhere in meeting the needs of parents because there is only one across-the-board subsidy level. However, school fees are not uniform, but then the subsidy is. So how can you help grassroots families? Recently, you encourage women to work, and there are many more double-income families. They work long hours, so they do not have time to take care of their children. It's very difficult for double-income families to have a balanced work and family life. I believe there are double-income parents around here. You should agree that whole-day KG education means a lot to parents. They open at 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. Some of them actually provide after school care up to 8 p.m. to make it easier for parents to take the children home after work. These services are a great help to double-income parents. We need such nurseries. We parents would also ask the administration to rectify this unfair arrangement ASAP. And we don't want our children to lose at the starting line. A lot of research has shown that children from 0 to 6 experience the most important learning stage. If we do not provide quality education, Hong Kong children are going to lose out at the starting line. Parents would always like to choose a nursery or KG that can allow children to go directly into a primary school. However, without quality education, how can we also allow our children to have quality primary education? Many parents send children to different classes and courses, even at pre-primary level, so our children are more competitive. But we do not get any subsidy from government. That's all. Thank you. Ms. Chen Wai-chen, Chairman, members, and Education Secretary, good to see you. So you can listen to me. I was one of the election committee members returning the CE. I did not expect a lot. In fact, there were many people asking why CY Leung should be chosen. As you know, we only could depend on his manifesto. I gave him my vote because his election manifesto told the industry in clear terms that he would implement 15-year free education ASAP and also to help double-income families. This has gone deep into our hearts. We have over 400 whole-day schools in our Early Childhood Educators Association. I represent them. We were hoping that the administration would in fact implement 15-year free education as stated in the manifesto. But I'd like to tell you this. The administration has done wrong in 2005 in coordinating early childhood education. I believe many of us who are Legislative councillors might not know that in fact there was this coordinating committee trying to help childhood educators. We call this a joint office. There is the objective of making whole day and half day schools and give us help. However, the joint office is not doing its job. And in terms of resource allocation, there are still great discrepancies. And secondly, the second wrong is that in 2007, the PEVS was launched without consulting the industry. So the whole day nurseries had a high wastage rate at 40%. As parents were saying, they were only given the vouchers. Whether their children are in whole day or half day nurseries or KGs, they use the same voucher, and now they have an extra $59.20 this year. So how can you allow grassroots families to benefit? The third wrong is, at the time of assumption of office, CY Leung in his PA made no mention of how ECE is to be supported. And the industry has told us that they were cold-shouldered. I can tell you, indeed, you were facing a wall. And in fact, we are not improving KG education in any way. Number 4, a super wrong, let's say. I think he owes all Hong Kong children because he is not allowing children to benefit from ECE. I hope the committee to be set up will really quickly implement 15-year free education. And I also subscribe to the 8 points of the alliance. Thank you. Ms. Wong Tong Tai. Good morning. I represent the Anglican Hong Kong Early Childhood Education Council. We agree that children are a special group and citizens have the right to education. So the administration should take up their responsibility to provide free basic education by directly subsidizing the operation of nurseries and KGs. There should be free ECE for children in both whole-day and half-day schools, because this will lay a good foundation for their continuous and sustainable development so that there will be whole-person education. We have the following 4 points to make. 1, to abolish the PEVS. Let us look at the fund allocation mechanism of secondary and primary schools to provide comprehensive subsidy. Non-profit making organizations should be supported, but some schools should be able to preserve their private sector operations so there is choice for parents. And secondly, education must not be regarded as a commodity and money should not just follow the person. Number 3, you should not calculate funding according to half-day schooling. You should respect the choice of parents and make sure that both whole-day and half-day ECE will be fully subsidized. You should look at the different modes of operation and also the cost differential in order to provide full subsidy. And also, the voucher should be heightened in value to lessen the financial burden on parents. And number 3, to lower the ratio of teachers and children, so teachers can take care of children while they teach them. And also to change the ratio from 1 to 15 to 1 to 10. And you should not include head teachers and headmasters when you do so. Number 4, you should enhance the manpower establishment, because this has a direct impact on the quality of education. Our association would request that you should support teachers and improve their working environment, and there should be accounting clerks and also professional supervisors. There should be the enhancement of school-based governance so we can enhance the quality of care in education. Thank you. Ms. Ng Sok Cheng. Good morning, Chairman and members. I represent the Anglican Hong Kong Principal Early Childhood Education Council. We'd like to have a salary structure and QF for KG teachers, so our teaching team will have subsidies for continuous professional development, and so teachers can decide for themselves how to pursue continuous education. Since 2007, we have had the PEVS, and at that time we have cancelled the standard salary scale for KG teachers. So in-service teachers and potential applicants could not see any prospect. We would like you to revive the KG teacher salary scale and also to provide fair salary for degree holders, and also there should be a qualification framework set up in order to help retain personnel. There should also be a fund for the professional development of KG teachers, so KG teachers can self-enhance and perfect themselves. And also you should localize teaching research. Since the 1960s, we have never had any systematic gathering of information for a data bank with regard to data tracking the development of children between the age of 0 and 18 in Hong Kong. We'd like to set up that kind of data bank so teachers will know whether the education we are providing will meet the needs of children. We hope there will be funding for the localization of such research. Number 3, we should have a quality assurance system. In 2007, we started the voucher scheme, and since then, the administration has brought in quality assessment. It was something good as a start, but then it added a lot to our administrative burden. There was also pressure brought upon teachers. This is unfair. We have been involved in a lot of documentation and assessment work, and indeed we have less time and even no time to hug the children we teach. We'd like you to streamline the administrative procedures and concentrate on the enhancement and enhancing the self-assessment ability of schools. You should do quality assessment by having more participation from the industry.
The quality assurance can help schools, and the reports do not need to be posted on the internet. The secondary schools and primary schools have already abolished this measure, so I hope the CE, Mr. Leung, can live up to his pledge during his campaign and implement 15 years of free education. Ms. Annie Key, I'm from the Civic Party. The Civic Party has focused on measures to improve policy and also have looked at how to provide a good learning environment while relieving parents' financial burden. We'd also like to improve the working environment and provide more training opportunities for kindergarten teachers. In the past, kindergarten teaching had not received government subsidies. Under the lack of resources, parents had to pay high tuition fees and miscellaneous fees, and teaching quality was also very varied. So whether kindergarten teachers, parents, and school-sponsored bodies have a unanimous request for free kindergarten education. We also want to have a comprehensive review of kindergarten teaching. The Civic Party has paid attention to development in this area, and therefore the Civic Party would like to take this opportunity to put forward the following 5 points. First, the government should implement 15 years of free education. They should come up with a concrete plan rather than just a feasibility study. Second, the government should collect and publish data such that society and the government can formulate a kindergarten policy. Third, there should be a kindergarten teacher salary scale to attract and retain talent. Fourth, there should be a support group to provide different forms of training for teachers, including we should also have kindergarten administrative assistants to help relieve teacher burden. And fifth, there should also be an assessment mechanism. Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Margaret Lam. The industry serves Hong Kong children. We have officials attending this event, and we would urge you to work together with us to provide a better future for our children. Today, I'll be talking on teacher respect and teacher qualifications. We would like to quote the Education Bureau report. In page 6, they say that providing 15-year free education and quality kindergarten education is the current government's main focus. We'd like to point out that quality education should be led by a quality teaching team. Some experts had said that children's values and attitudes are built before 6 years of age. Teachers are problem solvers, are leaders, so their qualifications should not be underestimated. In page 3, it says that maintaining a stable team and enhancing preschool education is very important. The government's response also agrees. So what are we waiting for? So we urge the government to formulate a salary scale for kindergarten principals and teachers. I understand that this is a process that takes time, but I disagree with page 3 where they say that kindergartens have the ability to set remuneration scales. Do you think we can do so? We have free education that should be borne by the government. We need the government to confirm their qualifications. So 15-year free education is our request. We all agree that education before 6 years of age should be a universal right. So whether it's half day, full day schooling, all children should be catered for. We are now hand over the work to you. In Legislative document number 2, paragraph 16, it says that there should be diverse services provided to parents. I think you will be aware that in the last few years we have different learning, children have different learning abilities. So we have to accept these children. We need to provide diverse services to parents. We want to provide a professional service. So we should have the relevant hardware and software and environment to provide these services. But the government has neglected the realistic needs. They only provide a one-size-fits-all service, and the public are just left to wait and wait. We don't have timely assistance. When children are almost of primary school age, their problems have to be followed up by the primary school. There is a lack of continuity in service. If we have 15 years of free education, and schools can receive professional assistance, then the neglected children should receive better care. So I urge you to support our industry. We want the government to support kindergarten education. Parents should coordinate their efforts in handling children with special needs. So I support the Alliance 8 proposals. Thank you. Ms. Adelina Kong Siwai. The long-term neglect of kindergarten education, and for parents who have to contribute to Hong Kong's economy, and the long-term neglect, I have to express my disappointment. I have the following request. The CE has not lived up to his pledge during the campaign. We had some 30 years ago called for 15-year free education. The government has responded by saying they need to conduct feasibility studies. We are disappointed with this stalling. So, children being the future of society, is that just a slogan? I hope all the officials can assist the CE to help him live up to his pledge. We should not sacrifice children's right to quality education. The Education Bureau in their reports say kindergarten education is not part of basic education. Please refer to page 43 of 2000 Blue Book. That's what it says. Kindergarten education is a foundation for lifelong learning. So why do they now say it's not part of basic education? In education theory, from kindergarten to university education, this is a continuous process. You cannot separate it into pieces. In Hong Kong, we have kindergartens run in a school, in an institution, and they require Education Bureau's assessment. The kindergarten's assessment reports are published on the internet. The assessment is the same as primary and secondary schools, but in funding and resource deployment, there is a very substantial difference, and that is unfair. So aside from the Alliance request, I have two more requests. We should scrap the voucher system. We should make reference to primary school, secondary school funding. We should help relieve the burden of school sponsoring bodies and working parents. We had a lot of legislators support us today, so I hope the education panel chairman in the panel tomorrow set up a 15-year free education working group to help us monitor the government, to help us deploy more resources in kindergarten education. Next, Mr. Frederick Choi. I am the NOC Fund Chairman. In the mainland, we nurture a lot of talent. We have some 40 million members, including primary school, secondary school, and university students. We have proposed a certification system that looks at developing innovative curriculum. In the mainland, there are some 20 million new births every year. So between the years of 0 to 8 years old, there are more than 100 million families that need preschool education. Hong Kong has a small population, a small student body, so investment in education should focus on IT. So if you look at the mainland and overseas, we are not alone. The preschool industry is very large. If you take a broader perspective, we are closely integrated with the mainland. If we place children interests first, if we take innovative curriculum or teacher issues and look at it from a broader perspective, then integration with the mainland can help us. I have brought some audio-video curriculum, NOC video curriculum. These have received awards in many countries. I'm from Hong Kong and I immigrated to Australia. I've been in Australia for 20 years and I've been and I can't recognize Hong Kong anymore, and I'm very sad because of some over recent murders. So I would like everybody to set aside their political differences or interests and focus on children's future. So hopefully after the meeting, if you're interested in kindergarten standards, if you're interested in mainland cooperation, I'd like you to contact me. Thank you. Next, Mr. Leung Sun Gong. I have been on school boards, including primary schools, secondary schools, kindergartens, preschool, for 30 years. I respect teachers. Over the years, I've seen them expend a lot of effort, but the recognition and respect and remuneration is not in proportion to their efforts. I had served in secondary school, primary school, and kindergarten, and did a comparison. And I found that whether in terms of resources and staff, kindergartens fall significantly short compared to primary, secondary schools. For example, in classroom area, kindergartens only have 51%, 65% of secondary schools In terms of teacher staffing, kindergartens only have 58% of primary schools and 48% of secondary school teachers. The majority of kindergartens don't have a garden, don't have parking lot, don't have playgrounds. And the kindergartens I worked in, all teachers work in a cramped environment. They don't have a meeting room. They don't even have a desk. They don't have a teacher room. And they have to share a desk in the classroom. So in such crowded conditions, how can they do their job? To resolve the hardware issue is not easy. In the long term, we need to do planning. But first of all, why do we have such large enrollment numbers? Can we reduce student numbers? I don't think that's possible in the short term. But when secondary school, primary school teachers call for more resources, they get special resources. I am Legislative as frontline kindergarten teachers. We are willing to further our education after work. We have a heavy administrative workload, but we've never complained. We continue our work to serve the children, but up till now, we don't have a proportionate return. With a declining birth rate, with the birth rate increasing, but teachers' turnover is increasing, eventually we'll have more and more students, but less and less teachers. So you can foresee how disappointing that situation is going to be. In document 2, it refers to staff turnover. We have some 3,000 teachers, and when you include when you add up the figures, we have almost 90% of staffing levels. So we want to have a professional standard and remuneration standard in order to retain our quality staff. The Education Bureau also visited many countries to examine their kindergarten teaching. Teacher training is very important.
So that's why we ask that we take reference from primary and secondary schools. We have a pay scale for degree and certificate holders so that we can retain the necessary talents in the sector. Next, Ms. Chan Lai-Foon, Chairman, and speak on behalf of Tuen Mun District Kindergarten Heads Association. The association supports the 8 proposals of the Alliance. We are particularly concerned about the budget released by the FS. It is said that some $769 million has been spent on education, and some $480 million will be spent on sending outstanding students to study overseas, providing for 20 places. We are very worried because in number 2 paper, paragraph 3, in your response to Mr. Kenneth Chen, there are now over 590 kindergartens in Hong Kong. So if you train only 20 teachers each year, we have to wait for 48 years before an elite teacher is sent to us to enhance our teaching quality. Secondly, these elite teachers, when they come back to Hong Kong, will the administration set aside a sum to, for their salaries so that they can work? Because in the number 2 paper, paragraph 10, the average salary of kindergarten teachers is in 2011-2012 is only $18,000. How can you retain these elite teachers with such an salary pay or salary amount? Now, if they don't return to work in the early childhood sector, then it's a waste of money, taxpayers' money. The maximum of the maximum of pay for primary school teachers is 24 MPS 24, and then 29 for degree teachers. Now, but for the principal of kindergartens, the maximum pay scale is MPS 22 only. So it's a very low level. If we can't retain these so-called elite teachers, is there a problem to your sort of elite training for these teachers? Why don't you spend the amount on training our existing teachers or serving teachers? And the government said that because the kindergartens are privately run, then you can use the market mechanism to retain staff. Are you saying that education is a commodity? Why are you doing this? Why are you allowing staff turnover in the sector? Serving teachers have degrees and certificates. Why do you treat us like that? I hope that you can subsidize the pay of our teachers. Next, Mr. Cameron Fo. Thank you, Chairman, members, peers. Good morning. I'm from New People's Party Youth Committee chairperson. It takes a long period of time to train a person or to nurture a talent, and we think the education is important. We all understand that. We have many education theories telling us that early childhood education is most important to a person's development, but unfortunately, the administration or the society at large pays insufficient attention to early childhood education. In education reforms in recent years, they are targeted at tertiary education rather than ECE. Now, I think the debate on the provision of 15-year free education provides a good opportunity for us to focus our attention on the matter. Hong Kong is a society which upholds fairness and justice. We hope that every child is entitled to good education. So New People's Party agrees strongly that 15-year free education should be provided. Secondly, talent or teachers are important in the education sector. But presently, KG teachers lack 2 things. One is respect. The teachers have not been paid due respect within the society. And there are actually a lot of things that can be done to improve the situation. Say, for example, if we can establish a qualification accreditation mechanism, that would be good, because we need to recognize their qualifications. We need to draw up a proper framework. We also have to provide career prospects for them. If we can have a pay scale, then that would be good. Lastly, I want to mention that the New People's Party suggested that if 15-year free education is provided, the government still has the duty to establish some public kindergartens, just as they do in the primary education and secondary education sector, and the government can take the lead in doing that. I reiterate my 3 points. New People's Party urges the government to implement 15-year free education as soon as possible. And then secondly, establish a pay scale as soon as possible. And then there would be a certain proportion of public kindergartens in the society provided by the government. Thank you. The next one, Dr. Sunny Kam. I'm from Council of Non-Profit Making Organizations for Pre-Primary Education. I express regret, and I have 3 suggestions to make and 8 proposals to improve ECE. In 2000, I was fortunate to participate in 2000 Education Blueprint. At that time, we stated clearly that ECE is the foundation of education, and I think we can no longer store on providing 15-year free education. Education is an investment in talents and can cut costs of the society in the future. We can't let ECE going down the route of full marketization, and it should not be considered a commodity. Education lays a foundation for grooming good citizens, and we urge that the government should provide full subsidy to half-day and whole-day KGs. And the parents are given choices. We should ensure that every child starts on the same starting line, and the government should launch family-friendly policies. The association suggests that the Committee on KG Education to be established in addition to planning for 15-year free education. The committee should also address existing problems and also launch interim relief measures. Firstly, after the voucher scheme was implemented, the staff turnover rate was double-digit. And also the difference in subsidies between those for whole-day KG and half-day KG is as high as $1.8 million. So the government should provide subsidy on a school-based basis to ease the shortage of manpower and to narrow the differences in the subsidy between the 2 types of KGs. Secondly, the administration should establish a KG teacher training fund and to provide various support to KG teachers to further their studies, to ease their burden, so that they can make better mobilization of resources. School-based training should also be provided. Thirdly, the voucher value should be increased in 2013 to 14 to ease the burden of parents. The Alliance has forwarded 8 proposals, and we have reached a consensus on that in the sector. They have been outlined in the submission. I'm not going to repeat that here. And we urge strongly that the government should implement localized education research and also review the provision model in Hong Kong. Hong Kong women, most of them are working, and they are living in congested conditions, and city planning is also not of a good design, and all these factors affect the growth of the children. So in drawing up the policies, all these factors have to be taken into account. Next one, Ms. Wang Yokhing. On the provision of free education, I have the following comments. In the past 10 years, the resources devoted by the government in ECE have been increasing, but the pace is too slow. Say, for example, we agreed that Hong Kong should follow international practices to provide 15-year free education, but then the government is only saying that is undertaking a feasibility study in that front. And they say they will continue with the voucher scheme. Then this is very baffling to us. There are many flaws in the voucher scheme, but then the government has turned a blind eye to our suggestions. And the government reacts only when we have staged many actions and protests. The voucher scheme has more cons than pros, and I think the scheme should be shelved. The sector has come to a consensus in recent years that 15-year free education should be provided to take the best interest of parents and teachers and to ensure that the subsidy to hold in half-day KGs is dished out in a fair manner. I think this is a good platform for us to, for the government to engage the views of the sector. But I have to remind the administration not to repeat its mistake in the past. As like in the initial stage of the implementation of the voucher scheme, the government was implementing the plan behind closed doors, and the government should gauge the views from a wide sector spectrum of the community. The administration should also establish a mechanism to review the effectiveness of the 15-year free education, and the LegCo should establish a working group, and also in the civil society working group to monitor the implementation of the education system should be established. We hope that through these we can perfect the system and to ensure the healthy growth of the children. The sector has always adopted a reasonable and rational way of thinking. As in the foreword of the review report of the voucher scheme, it complements the work of the sector. So we emphasize that the administration should respect the views of the sector and implement 15-year free education as soon as possible. Thank you. Next, Ms. Li Fenglen. I am from Changchao Kindergarten. Here, I would like to put a question to the CE. In his policy address or his speeches on public occasions, he said that all livelihood issues are important. I want to ask him, is ECE an important livelihood issue? Many of our peers have also mentioned that some 3,471 have obtained degrees, and 6,411 teachers have obtained certificates. I hope that the government can pay attention to these figures, and among them, many of them are still pursuing a degree program, which means that the number of degree holders will increase day after day. So why is it that we are not well respected in the society? That is because that has to do with resources. The government has not been respecting us well, and we are facing a lot of difficulties in our service. We have to gain the trust of the parents, and that's also very important. We hope that the administration can show more concern to us and then develop a professional development ladder and a pay scale for us. In the number 1 paper, paragraph 3, KG education in Hong Kong is not part of basic education. I'm infuriated by this statement. Why is it that under your guidelines, under EDB guidelines, kindergartens have to operate in the same way as primary and secondary schools, and that you say that we are not part of basic education? We have even done more than the primary and secondary schools. Our assessment reports are put on the website, and that poses a lot of pressure on us. So the resources we are allocated are less than the primary and secondary schools. I think the administration should attend to my concern. It should not shy away from your responsibility towards kindergartens. Please consider KG as part of your responsibility in education provision. Now I would like to thank deputations and individuals for your views. Now, my secretary, have you got any initial response to their comments? Thank you, Chairman. I have two responses. I really like to thank deputations for your comments. I've jotted each and every one of your comments. I have 2 points. One, I want to clarify that when we say KG education in Hong Kong is not part of basic education, there is some differences in the interpretation. When we meant basic education, it means compulsory education, and because KG education is not compulsory education, that's why we said that it's not part of basic education. I think there is a mistake, discrepancies in the translation. So I would like to hear two views from deputations in the second session. Now we enter the Q&A session of members. Any members who would like to speak, please raise your hands. As we have two sessions for public hearing, the first session must end at 11:25, or else the guests in the second session will be made to wait for too long. All right, who are going to speak? Please raise your hands. Yes. Chen Ka-lok, Peter Zhang, Vice Chairman, Fernando Zhang, Lang Kwok-hong, Starry Lee. Have I missed anyone? If not, Q&A, 3 minutes each, please. Mr. Kenneth Chan. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, before you raise questions, I would like to remind you that according to the Rules of Procedure, Section 83A, a member shall not move any motion or amendment relating to a matter in which he has a pecuniary interest, whether direct or indirect, or speak on any such matter, except where he discloses the nature of that interest. No interest declaration from me. Well, thank you, Chairman. I would like to thank the teachers and groups concerned with early child education for coming here. This is only the first day, and we will have an extra day for holding a public hearing. Many of the electrical members are in support of 15-year free education, and I thank you for sending this gift prepared by the students. We are also wearing red T-shirts and sticking on this label representing that we are with you in one voice to pose pressure on the administration. When the secretary said that the government may lay low this year, then that's very worrying, because this is exactly the issue that we want the government to be very proactive on. Now, today I see that every one of us are so united, so I do see a ray of hope here. I'm particularly concerned about what education is all about. It's not a commodity. We don't want to turn it into a commodity or an industry. We don't want ourselves to turn to be a sort of profit-making group of profit-making people, because we've seen such development in recent years. Because I am a teacher in university, and I think we should not be heading down towards the opposite direction. I think education is a basic right of children, and it relates to their growth and development. They are not targets for a commodity, and we should be drawing up our policies with the interest of the students in mind. Now, it involves not only money but also talents. And a lot of the friends have quoted this figure. Some 3,000 teachers have obtained degrees, and some 6,000 teachers have obtained certificates. And this development shows that to the government that we are ready to launch 15-year free education. But
well, we have heard that you are spending $400 million to subsidize talented students, and the NPP should be happy because you persuaded the government to do it. However, you are allowing just 20 people to read education degrees. What about the other people? This is unfair. My specific questions are, You said that it would take 2 years to do the research and then the Education Bureau will do further research. How long is that kind of research going to take? A KG teacher would have to read the degree and spend 5 years on it. So how much longer they have to wait? Children really have to get the best education they need. So today I'm here to get more information from you so that I can continue the dialogue with the administration. Thank you. Next member, Peter Cheung Kwok Chi. I'd like to thank deputations and individuals who have spoken in the first session. The Secretary said that basic education doesn't mean basic education. It means compulsory education. But I would really go back to the administration's paper. You also used the word basic education. I don't know who is right, but I do read my papers. Why do you position it this way? That KG education in Hong Kong is not part of basic education. Who wrote this line? Is it the PS or the Secretary who should be held responsible? You said you would set up the Committee on KG Education. But that is not about 15 years free education. Rather, you are going to take stock of the present situation. The paper doesn't even mention taking the first step to provide 15 years free education. Are you going to further drag your feet so that somehow people will forget it? However, we have been fighting for this for decades. Somebody said 30 years. If you further drag your feet, I'm sure the CE's manifesto saying that there would be 15 years free education, that will not come to pass. And he has only a term of 5 years. Very often, high-ranking officials would say something and that they want to do something, and I'm sure our technocrats can do it. Today, the CE says this has to be looked into. Is it because he has heard technocrats saying that this is a big problem, or is it that the CE has changed tack? Or is it that, Secretary, after you have assumed office, you have found this to be so difficult, so you are persuading the CE to just put its head in research? I have 1 more minute, and my question for the Secretary is, are you going to embark on 15 years free education? Secretary, thank you for the question. Very simply, I treasure this period of time, and I can tell you seriously that KG education, 3-year free KG education, is one of the most important tasks in this term. I will spare no effort in doing it. Now, maybe the wording was not clear, but I would stress that we would seriously embark on the feasibility study. Please allow me to... No, I have no time. Well, let him continue. No, my question is, will the administration change the Committee on KG Education to Committee on 3-year free KG Education? Well, he hasn't answered your first question, but you have already been asking the second question. You mentioned the 2 ways to call the committee, and I'm sure the committee can discuss its naming when it is set up in April. Deputy Chairman. Chairman, the Secretary said that the answer is simple, but I don't think he has answered the core issue, and that is whether you're going to embark on 15 years free education. In his election manifesto, the CE wrote this, that 15 years free education should be implemented as soon as possible. He did not mention feasibility. He did not talk about feasibility study. The Secretary said that he would be looking into feasibility. What does he mean, Secretary? Can you clarify? Dr. Peter Cheung Kwok Chi asked the question, is it that the CE has changed tack, or is it that the Bureau has some other ideas? The Secretary was trying to clarify that KG education was or was not part of basic education, and he attributed it to a discrepancy in translation. In English, it says this is not part of basic education. Well, so it's very clear there is no discrepancy in translation. So, Secretary, are you telling me that this is wrong information as contained in the paper? Can you allow him some time to answer? Should we delete the word not? Secretary, please give focused answers, or else other members will chase you up on the same questions. We are talking about seriously embarking on feasibility study. Now, I will give you 2 examples so you understand. First, subsidy, should it be comprehensive? And when you say free education, how free? I have just been to New York and Toronto. 2/3 of the time there was taken up for this issue. Just now you talked about different definitions, and this is part of the feasibility, and that is how it should be delivered, the mode of delivery. This is something to be researched into by the committee. And secondly, basic education. 6 years compulsory primary education, and then 9 years, and then 12 years, and now we're talking about 15 years. And of course, the focus is 3-year free KG education. Is it that you want to follow up? Mr. Ip, 2 questions. You haven't exactly answered the first question, and you haven't answered my second question. Basic education, there is no discrepancy in translation in the paper. Is it that the paper has been written wrongly? Chairman, in English, basic education, it is a jargon meaning compulsory education. And therefore, in the paper, we are trying to say that KG education is not part of compulsory education. So are you saying now that KG education is part of basic education in Hong Kong? Can you rectify it this way? Chairman, this is a jargon we have been using. In English, basic education generally means compulsory education. In future, if members are not clear about the wording, we can say that KG education is not part of compulsory education. Well, perhaps you have gone for different wording. If you look at our curriculum papers, the connotation of basic education is actually compulsory education. Next member, Dr. Fernando Zhang. Thank you, Chairman. Are we talking about policies or wording? When you discuss anything with this administration, you will end up being trapped because they play around with words. Now they are saying basic education equates or equals compulsory education. I have never seen such definition in other countries, and I think Hong Kong is quite unique indeed. In the manifesto, the CE has said that he would implement free early childhood education, including setting up a committee which would involve the school sponsoring bodies, operators, parents, and teachers who would sit down and discuss the actual implementation. That is what he said. And in the PA, they said that a task force would be set up to study the feasibility of free early childhood education. And the secretary is saying that he would look into the feasibility of actual implementation. In other words, there will be implementation, but you don't know whether it is possible. What does this mean? The CY Leung government is really an expert in making these statements. But anyway, we thank the deputations and individuals for coming, for reiterating the 8 points made by the alliance, and this is the consensus they said. So, Secretary, can you now explain more? What do you mean by the feasibility of actual implementation? I think this is a contradiction in terms. Secretary, perhaps you have even better oratory skills than CY Leung. In the paper, you said it would take 2 years, and to the media, you said you would accord priority to urgent matters. I'd like you to comment on the so-called Hong Kong speed. When the entire industry has got a consensus, has got a direction, does it mean you will still take 2 years to write up a proposal? So, Secretary, can you explain what you mean by the feasibility of actual implementation and to the 2-year time frame? At the education panel meeting, on the day after the PA, we issued a paper with 37 paragraphs. And we explained the meaning of feasibility. And the premise, we said, is actual implementation. So we are talking about implementation, the feasibility of implementation, not to dwell on the philosophy of the idea anymore. Now, 2 years. Why we take 2 years? We would ask the committee to immediately embark on several areas. First, financial and operation. Should it be half day or whole day? Should it be half day plus 2 hours or whole day plus 2 hours? Secondly, we must state that it should be 3-year KG education. And then the salary structure, teachers' qualification, etc., and recognition of teachers' qualification, training, and subsidy for teachers. One subgroup will have to look at this. And then the definition of education. This is so important. I went to the Teachers College in Columbia with 143 years of history. And once I sat down, they told me that whatever you do, you have to get clear with the definition. And I was told in the 20-odd meetings with industry that I would have to get clear with the definitions. And we would have to liaise with the industry at every point. We say within 2 years. We didn't say 2 years. We said within 2 years. And urgent matters would be attended to with priority. 2 more members in the first round. Leung Kwok Hong, Starry Lee. Leung Kwok Hong. Chairman, I have heard a lady say that the CE said that all livelihood matters are important matters to him. This lady doesn't understand what the CE is actually saying. In other words, the CE is lying with everything he says. Whatever the CE says is a lie. This is actually very simple. Secretary, you have told us that this is urgent. We should not wait anymore because it takes 100 years to train up a person. What are you going to do with teacher training? Even if you say, I'll give this to you tomorrow, how are you going to train up the teachers? And then you will tell me without the definition, how can I start training? Come on. I was telling reporters when the CE read out his PA, and I said he would meet up with a disaster because it seems the CE is not starting from the planting of a sapling. You cannot just put a tree into the ground and ask it to grow. You have to seek the funding, you have to start the training. But the PA does not address these issues, and so John Zhang is not allocating any funding. Mr. John Zhang asked us to have to stare at the stars. But what are you doing as a government? You have to seek the funding for this task. Services and welfare only take up 7% of the budget. It's a small amount. So, Secretary, my question for you is, you talk about feasibility of actual implementation. The study into the feasibility of actual implementation. What is that? I can teach you Chinese. Are you saying that we are going to do it? It's just how. Is that right? You must speak simple and comprehensible Chinese. On the 24th, we have another meeting. I don't want to argue with you. I just like to ask you this. Have you asked CE how much money will be needed? And you really have to start working. If we do not have enough places at the Hong Kong IAD, You really have to think about how teachers can be trained. You say you would give priority to urgent matters, but you cannot just tell anyone to start teaching KG. You said you paid a visit to other countries and people asked you to get clear with the definitions. Okay, so you tell us now. When can you come up with a definition? Is it that you cannot do anything without the definition being set? Secretary? Thank you, member. 2 points. One, teaching resources. We have done our sums and we know that 90% of KG teachers have got a certificate and over 1,000 are already reading for a certificate. A month or so ago, we therefore extended the time to the end of 2014 instead of this year. And secondly, in terms of funding, we understand that implementation takes time, but this is also your view, and that is why we have already got 150,000 to 250,000 to fund the urgent matters. Number 3, the study. That is going to be important because parents are asking the same question. The parents are asking, what are you going to teach? So that requires discussion. Thank you. Next, Starry. Chairman and deputations and individuals, welcome to the Legislative Council. I was not able to receive your petition because I had to attend another meeting, but I have rushed back to the meeting. In fact, this is not the first time I have heard the ECE industry. I have participated in other activities organized by the deputy chairman. I have heard the views of the alliance. Chairman, you are the chairman today and over 100 deputations are coming. We have a meeting till 1:50 today and there is still another meeting. I remember when I was the chairman last term, we also invited ECE people to come, but we were able to handle that within a meeting. I think some of you were there, and I think 50 deputations came. I remember I summarized 2 points, which were the consensus of the deputations, but it's unfortunate that the Bureau is not putting forward a timetable. That is why we see the industry is even more consolidated. Now that there are more deputations, so Secretary, you have to showcase better work efficiency with better wisdom. I remember there were 2 points. One, we all understand that 15-year free education must be implemented after resolving certain technical matters. We are not talking about this in thin air. We have different school buildings. We have to resolve the discrepancies. I agree that will take time. But I remember the summary then was that before that, you would have to enhance the value of the voucher so parents do not have to pay the difference in school fees, and so that operators will also have more resources. But you have not answered that point. Secondly, indeed, KG teachers have their workload increasing. They have to study, they have to work, but then their salary is not guaranteed. So I was proposing to the Bureau that there should be a salary structure so KG teachers can be reassured. That was not Eddie Ng, who was the secretary. I don't remember who was it. But those 2 points have not been followed up. Can you respond to these 2 points? Because these were the 2 points of consensus last year. Would you be able to answer us? At least I understand that the 15-year free education must be implemented in phases, but in the short term, you must reassure the industry and the teachers so your job is made easier. Can you respond? Secretary, thank you. This is a very important issue. I was talking about 5 working groups which would be set up simultaneously, and one working group, we hope, would immediately discuss those 2 points you mentioned.
Some issues need to be dealt with on a higher priority, but I need to respect the working group, so I cannot divulge too many too much information. So once the groups are formed and convened, I can disclose more information, and we will definitely have a higher priority. I'll have the last question. The SAR government, or the SAR, is moving towards a knowledge-based economy, so basic education is very important. Well, this being the first round, 15-year free education is the educators, parents, teachers, students' desire. And we all would like a roadmap, a timetable. And the government has emphasized it's being practical, but we need to feel and see what you're doing, otherwise it's ambiguous. So I would like you to draft a timetable, and I agree with Mr. Leung Ko-hong in that you need planning and foresight. So teacher training cannot be done overnight. You therefore need preparation. And you need reasonable remuneration in order to attract quality kindergarten teachers. So I would like you to undertake practical measures that we can see and identify. Well, that would conclude the first round, and I would like to thank all attendants. If you have any further views, you can provide them in writing to us, and you can also submit your speaking notes. And I have to thank all deputations. So, part 1 adjourned. The next session